Hello and welcome to the Beckoning Bookshelf. I'm your host, Jeffrey Ashcraft. With the talks of the Legend of Zelda movie circulating lately, due to the release of the photo revealing both Zelda and Link, I figured it would be a fun idea to talk about one of my favorite mangas from the franchise. The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. This manga was originally published in 1992 through various volumes of the Nintendo Power magazine. And this was done both in Japan and in the United States. It was later published as a graphic novel in 1993 in Japanese and in 2010 in English. At least that's the earliest date I could find for an official English translation for the graphic novel itself. The art and the story are both done by Shotaro Ishinomori, who is very famous for a variety of manga series, including Cyborg 009, Masked Rider, and Hotel. As a fun side note, one of the original characters in this manga looks oddly similar to a character from Cyborg 009. Like, eerily so. Yet you gotta wonder if it's the same guy. And if he's able to jump stories, or if both A Link to the Past and Cyborg 009 happen in the same universe. There's a conspiracy theory for you. Anyways, this graphic novel is clearly adapting the story from the Legend of Zelda game by the same name, A Link to the Past, which was also released in 1992. Now, does it do the story justice? Because Legend of Zelda games are they just have these massive adventures, these grand stories that are so much fun to explore. And if you want to adapt that story to, say, a graphic novel, a TV show, or a live-action movie, it either has to be very, very long, or you have to trim a lot of content. Well, I think this manga adapts the story extremely well. It keeps the important content, it cuts the fluff. Link doesn't travel to all 12 dungeons in this manga because he just doesn't have to. And it adds a lot of new content, which I think is kind of fun because you can still tell it's A Link to the Past. It has all the same critical parts of the story, but it's also its own version of A Link to the Past. It's not just an exact copy retelling of the story, but trimmed down. It is kind of its own reimagining of the story, and I find that very fun. It's kind of like ice cream with different toppings on it than your original serving of ice cream. Something like that. And it also keeps the same theme and feel that the Legend of Zelda franchise is famous for. And one could argue that its whole purpose is the excitement of adventure and of discovery. I think this story fits all of that perfectly, especially with the art. I love the art in this book. It is great. The Master Sword is awesome, and it has a unique Master Sword design. I also love the design of Ganon's castle. It is so cool and ominous and just awesome. Now, I will say that Nishinomori does have, did I say Nishinomori? Ishinomori does have a unique art style. So if you're not a fan of his style, then you may not enjoy the book. But that doesn't mean it isn't still fantastic art. Now, I should say that this is not canon in any way. This Legend of Zelda manga is not canon. It has no place in the timeline, though I suppose you could, replace the video game entry of A Link to the Past with this one because it's practically the same story. But there's a lot of characters in here that are just not referenced anywhere else in the franchise at all. So, there's that. But even if this is not part of the franchise canon, I think that it's possible that this manga had a really great influence on the Legend of Zelda franchise. because this could be the earliest, depiction of Link having a companion or guide character with him. So that title of Link's first companion typically goes to Navi from Ocarina of Time, which was released in 1998. That was the first Legend of Zelda game that gave Link a companion or a guide to, guide him through the game, guide him through the story. And since then, several other companions have been added. But Navi has been famous for, supposedly being the first one. However, this manga came out 6 years prior to Ocarina of Time, and Link gains a fairy companion in the second half. Said fairy companion also has a lot of similarities, at least design-wise, to Navi from Ocarina of Time. So, not only is this possibly the earliest depiction of Link having a companion, but Navi, Link's most famous first companion, could have at least, her design could have at least been partially inspired by Link's fairy companion in this manga adaptation. And I find that fascinating. I find that very interesting. And that is all I have for you today. Have you read the Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past manga? Have you read the later depiction? Well, the later adaptation. This was also done in a black and white manga, I guess you could say. I'll say a black and white version because I don't know who did it. But there is another later version of A Link to the Past. Have you read that one? And if you read both, which one do you like more? And are you ready for the live-action Legend of Zelda movie? Are you excited about it? Do you think it's going to be great? Do you think it's going to be terrible? What do you think? I'm tempted to do an episode speculating on what the story would be. I haven't decided if I'm doing it yet. We'll see. It would be a fun experiment. Anyways, thank you for being here. Thank you always for being here. You are amazing. Now, go on an adventure and find yourself a good book.